Shalom. First, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, from whom I learned this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 elect. Maya Mayakala. And I'm going to call this blood or bloodshed, something along those lines. And as you can see, I have what is blood. I've asked Google, what is blood? And it says blood is a vital, specialized bodily fluid that circulates through your body, delivering oxygen, nutrients, hormones, and cells to tissues while carrying waste products away, composed of liquid plasma and solid cells, red, white blood cells, and platelets that transport, protect, and regulate the body. It's essential for life, acting as a transport system, defense mechanism, fighting infection, and regulator of body temperature as pumped by the heart through vessels. Alright, and that first line says blood is a vital, specialized bodily fluid that circulates through the body. So it's a vital fluid. Alright. Something else that it says it's essential for life. Alright, so it's a carrier of life. I have just a few verses here that I wanted to go through concerning the blood. And I was really looking in the blue letter, and that word blood is in the scripture more than 370 times. So it's a very important word. But I wanted to go into one of the first instances where we see blood being shed. Genesis chapter 4, verse 3 says, and I may jump around a little bit. Well, I am going to jump around a bit here. But I pray the Spirit just guides me through this lesson that I bring out and to be edifying. Verse 3, I'm going to start this verse 3. It says Genesis 4 and verse 3. And in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord Yahweh. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And the Lord Yahweh had respect unto Abel and to his offering. Why did he have respect unto Abel's offering? Because Abel brought forth the firstlings of his flock. All right, he didn't bring vegetables like Cain did. All right, this was for a sacrifice unto the Lord. And with that sacrifice, blood must be shed. All right. Verse 5 says, but unto Cain and to his offerings he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance falling? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. All right. So just as the Lord had just told him that this sin would follow him if he doesn't do well. It said, verse 9 says, and the Lord Yahweh said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground, and thou art cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. I wanted to take a look at this word blood. So like I said, this is one of the first instance of blood being shed, all right? And Abel, Cain having that, his countenance fell. He had that wicked spirit upon him. And having that wicked spirit upon him, his instinct was to slay his brother, which he did. All right, so he murdered his brother. And this word blood is H1818, and I'll give you a pronunciation of it.
Strong's H1818. Dom.
And the Strong's definition just says, from 1826, it says blood, as that which when shed causes death of man or an animal. By analogy, the juice of the grape, figuratively, especially in the plural, says bloodshed, drops of blood. And it says innocent, all right? Like I said, I'm going to jump around to a couple places. Genesis chapter 9. Verse 3 says, every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb have I given you all things. But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. So the Lord stressing that you should not eat blood. It says, and surely your blood of your lives will I require, at the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. And I'll read that in an NLT. It says, I will require the blood of anyone who takes another person's life. If a wild animal kills a person, it must die. And anyone who murders a fellow human must die. All right? So a murderer, because he shed blood, shed innocent blood, what's required of a murderer, but according to the Lord says that murderer must give his blood. For the blood he shed, he must give his blood. All right, so he must die. And as I mentioned before about sacrifice, all right, a sacrifice cannot be given unto the Lord unless blood has been shed, all right? And at this time, it was the blood of animals that would be shed unto the Lord, pure animals without blemish, perfect animals. I wanted to go to Leviticus chapter 3, just to further show that. Verse 17, it says, it shall be perpetual statute for your generations throughout all your dwellings, that ye eat neither fat nor blood. So even when we are eating of the clean animals that we are allowed to eat, all right, we should drain that the blood of that animal, because blood is the life force, and you don't want to take that into your body. All right, so the Lord requires that you drain the blood from that animal. All right, there's one instance that I can think of in which you're not required to drain the blood from the animal, and that would be the lamb that's sacrificed at Passover. All right, because that's a meal that would have been eaten in haste, and the Israelites at that time wouldn't have had time to drain the blood, because it takes a while to drain the blood from the lamb. So at that time, because they were due to the haste that they were in to get to leave Egypt. All right, that's the only time that they were allowed to have that Passover lamb without draining the blood from it. All right, I want to go over to Leviticus chapter 7 also. Verse 26 says, "Moreover, ye shall eat no manner of blood, whether it be of fowl or beast, in any of your dwellings. Whatsoever so it be that eateth any manner of blood, even that soul shall be cut off from his people." Verse 27 in the NLT says, "Anyone who consumes blood will be cut off from the community." All right. So other than that time at Passover that I mentioned about the blood, that you should eat no blood. There should be no other instances where you eat an animal that has blood in it. You can drain that blood from the animal. You can also seethe it or boil it, and boil it right before you get ready to cook it, before you get ready to bake it or get ready to fry it, or however you prepare it. You can briefly boil it to get some of that, to get that blood out. But there would also be specific instances, that during sacrifice by the priests, the things that they would do with blood and the different offerings unto the Lord. They would drain the blood and use that blood in offerings unto the Lord for specific offerings. All right, and we just read about Cain and that spirit that was in Cain, and we've gone over this before, so that's why I'm going to jump around. And if you haven't read it, read it to the new listener. The spirit of Cain was brought back in the spirit of Esau. That same spirit came back in Esau, the son of Isaac and brother of Jacob. So I'm going to jump over there. I'm going to jump over to Genesis. Chapter 25. And I'm just going to read a few verses from there, so we can get an idea of the kind of man that Esau was, because he was the twin brother of Jacob, But Rebekah being told by the Lord that there were two nations that were within her womb. So Jacob was of one nation, and Esau was of another nation. All right. Dropping down to verse 29, says, "And Jacob sod pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint." So what does that word sod mean? It is H2102, and I'll give you a pronunciation.
Strong's H2102. Zud. All
right, under the biblical.
And the form just below that, Zed.
All right, and under the biblical usage, it says to boil or to boil up, seethe. Like I used that word seethe earlier. That's what it means, to boil. So, in this instance, Jacob was in the process of cooking a meal, making lentils and making a stew. So there very well possibly could have been meat in this stew. All right, I'll read it again. Verse 29 says, "And Jacob sod pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. All right. And I'm going to read that in NLT. It says, Esau said to Jacob, I'm starved. Give me some of that red stew. And in parentheses, it says, this is how Esau got his other name, which is Edom, which means red. Edom means red. And aside from that fact, this is kind of going off a little bit, but I'm going to back up a little bit because in the same chapter, Genesis 25 and 25, it says, and the first came out red all over. So this is why he's referred to as red, or why that name means red, because Esau came out red. And this is the blood that was showing forth through his skin, as he had no melanin in his skin. So his blood showed forth through his skin. All right. It says, and the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. All right. Esau in the Hebrew is a Shashua, which means wasted away is he. All right. Which is what happens to the so-called white man when he spends a prolonged time out in the sun, him having no melanin, or he has no protection from the UV rays that come from the sun. And what does it do? It eats his skin up. All right, it's a curse. All right, he can't stand a prolonged period of time in the sun. And I'm going to go down to verse 30. All right, I think I just read verse 30. And we'll just look at Edom also. All right, so H123. I'll give you a pronunciation.
Strong's H123. Edom. Edom.
All right, and you can simply see it right here in the biblical uses. Edom, it means red. All right. Edom, it says Idumean. These are descendants of Esau. All right. The land of Edom, or in the Greek, Idumea. So it says the land south and southeast of Palestine. All right. Just to give you an idea that this is the land. Salakia. Salakia for that. Alright, and I'm going to go over to Genesis. Stay in that same book, and I want to go over to 36. It says, now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. I just wanted to be able to back up what I said. All right, in the NLT it says, this is the account of the descendants of Esau, in parentheses, also known as Edom. All right. Edom in the Hebrew is pronounced Adawam. Let's see. I don't think I gave you the pronunciation. Let me just take a look and see if I did. Oh yeah, okay. H123. All right, and just like I said, sometimes in the blue letter when they go with their pronunciations are in Yiddish. All right, but the correct pronunciation in the Hebrew, in the Paleo Hebrew, is Adawam. All right, and like I said, it means red, and all the descendants of Esau come from the land of Edom. All right. I'm going to jump over to Revelations, but I'm probably going to come back to the Old Testament. But in Revelation, chapter 6, verse 4 says, and there went out another horse that was red. All right, and you can see why that horse was red is given in the description. It's telling you who this is. This is Edom. It says, and power was given to him that sat thereon, to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. All right, and you can see that it says, and the power was given to him that sat thereupon, that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. And you can see that these descendants of Esau, or the Edomites, who are still here in the earth today, because all the nations are still here. All right, and you can see the so-called white man who has had his world wars, his various civil wars. He's continuing on that custom, or that thing that he does even to this day. All right, because that is what he was meant to do. He was meant, just like it says, to take peace from the earth. And as he began to ride, all right, like Alexander the Great, who was a descendant of Esau, who's an Edomite, all right, when he began to take over the known world, all right, and after his death, his four generals, Cassander, Lysimachus, Ptolemy, and Seleucus, who would divide up his kingdom, divide up all to conquer the known world at that time. And those were Edomites, so they would take control of various parts of the world. All right, and that's even what we still see right now, that Esau is spread out in various parts of the world, and you can see even today that that's what's taking place. All right, you got skirmishes and wars all over the world, all over the planet right now. All right, and you can see the latest thing that's been taking place. All right, with the Donald Trump, who's an Edomite, who has just dropped or at least has invaded Venezuela. All right, he's taken away their president in an effort to that is exactly what he's doing. He's taking peace from the world. So because he doesn't like the way this certain president is dealing with his own resources, he wants to take him into captivity, which he has done, because I believe he's a new captive in New York right now, awaiting trial. All right, and his resources have been seized by Donald Trump and the rest of the United States military. All right, so in addition to all the other things that Donald Trump's administration has been in, just into his 7 or 8 months, I guess it's about a year now of being in office. All right, they've been involved in all over the world. All right, and he wants to be known as the peacemaker, but they asked him what his new plans were for the new year. A reporter asked him what his plans were for the new year, and he says peace. And what does he do a couple of days later? He's taking peace from a part of the world, taking peace from a part of Venezuela, all right, by apprehending their president and seizing resources that are not his. So you can see that the Edomite, even today, is still living up to what the scripture says here, right here in Revelation 6:4, and that he is going to take peace from the earth, and he's doing it through the use of force, through the use of the sword. And the modern day sword today is the various weapons that the military uses, and also weapons of mass destruction, like missiles. All right, we have yet to use the ICBMs, but believe me, they're in storage, waiting to be used. All right, and it's just a matter of time before these missiles are going to be both let go by the United States and unleashed on the United States. I wanted to jump back into Genesis chapter 27. And this is with when Esau had gone to his father Isaac to have a blessing put up on him. And this is the blessing This is part of the blessing that Isaac bestowed upon Jacob's brother Esau. Verse 40 says, and by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. All right. And I'll even read verse 39. It says, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, meaning that they were going to halt, that the Edomites would possess the richest parts of the earth and the best parts of the earth, all right? Because this being his kingdom, this is as good as it gets for him. So that's what his inheritance is, to use his sword and to take the fatness of the earth, to take all the best parts of the earth, and to invent various weapons in which he would use in order to do this, that through conquering, through going through all the different lands and taking it what it is that he wants, whether it be the lands itself and renaming them with his own name, or whether it be the resources of that land. All right, and him just commandeering it and staying there and taking and staying in someone else's land and taking hold of their resources. All right, this is what they do through their conquering. Either they completely take a land over, or they come into a land and commandeer it, take it over, and remain there so that they can control the resources, so that is up to their liking. All right. Verse 39, I'll read again. It says, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven from above. All right. It says, and by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. All right. And it was for a time right before the Renaissance period that's exactly what happened, what was taking place. Esau was not in power. All right. Jacob and the descendants of Jacob were in power, were in control of the planet. All right. They were in rulership. All right. But through the use of the sword, and because this is the way the Lord had planned it to be, they were able to dominate and take over the known world. I mentioned Alexander the Great, and that's when it began to take place. All right, they took over the known world, and up until even the present day today. All right, they've gained rulership and are in control over the various parts of the earth. All right. And I just wanted to mention this and bring this out because this is what's taking place right before our eyes right now. All right. They are in pursuit of all the lands. They are in pursuit of taking over as many resources as they possibly can. All right. And they're going throughout the world using that word peace. All right. There's peace through the use of force. All right. This is their justification for going about and taking other lands and taking resources from countries that are not their own, from other countries. You know, this is their way of spreading peace and their way of spreading what they call democracy. All right, and I wanted to go into Numbers 35 because this is what they live by. This is what they know. All right, this is what they've been blessed to do. All right, Numbers 35, and I want to go down to chapter. Where am I going? Chapter 19. Says, this is Numbers 35, and verse 19 says, the revenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer when he meeteth him. He shall slay him. In the NLT it says the victim's nearest relative is responsible for putting the murderer to death. When they meet, the avenger must put the murderer to death. So Now, you know what? I'm going to go up to 18. It says verse 18 says, or if he smite him with an hand weapon of wood wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. The revenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer. When he meeteth him, he shall slay him. All right. So if you murder a man, all right, a murderer, when he is apprehended, when he is caught, all right, he should be put to death, because murder is perpetrated upon an innocent person. All right, murder is perpetrated upon one who is not deserving of death. All right, and that's what a murderer is. A murder is different from a killing. All right, when you kill, it's out of necessity, but a murderer does it for whatever his wicked reason may be. All right, but when that murderer is apprehended, when that murderer is caught, all right, that is what his punishment is. His punishment is to give his blood for the blood that he has shed, just like we went over I believe that was in Leviticus. All right. Staying in this same chapter, I'm going to go just dropping down to 21. It says, or in enmity smite him with his hand that he die. He that smote him shall surely be put to death, for he is a murderer. The revenger of blood shall slay the murderer when he meeteth him. So for all these things that are being perpetrated upon the earth right now, for all these invasions that are taking place by the United States, for all these invasions that's taking place, and murders that are being committed with places like the so-called, the people, the Israelis living in the land of Israel, that they are doing, that they are committing. All right, what's going to happen? They are being lined up to have their punishment. All right, that's what's going to take place in the day of the Lord. For all the murdering that they have done, that they are doing, that is what their punishment will be. For the blood that they have shed, the blood that they are shedding, their blood will be shed. Because, see, Esau and his descendants, they don't mind shedding blood. This is what they do. They have no problem with shedding blood. All right, and they can make up any justification for it. All right, because they are the wicked. All right, and this is what they do. Verse 33 says, and I'm still in Numbers chapter 35 and verse 33 says, so ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. So for all of the land, all the blood that they shed in these different lands, all right, it's going to be cleansed in the day of the Lord. But the only way that land can be cleansed is through the bloodshed of him that have shed the blood, innocent blood. All right, since you don't mind seeing blood, Esau, Edom,